and Finem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, October 2025. On the white throat of the useless passion that scorched my soul with its burning breath, I clutched my fingers in murderous fashion, and gathered them close in a grip of death. For why should I fan or feed with fuel a love that showed me but blank despair? So my hold was firm, and my grasp was cruel. I meant to strangle it, then and there. I thought it was dead, but with no warning, it rose from its grave last night, and came and stood by my bed till the early morning, and over it spoke your name. Its throat was red where my hands had held it. It burned my brow with its scorching breath, and I said, the moment my eyes beheld it, a love like this can know no death. For just one kiss that your lips have given in the lost and beautiful past to me, I would gladly barter my hopes of heaven and all the bliss of eternity. For never a joy are the angels keeping to lay at my feet in paradise, like that of into your strong arms creeping and looking into your love-lit eyes. I know in the way that sins are reckoned, this thought is a sin of the deepest dye, but I know, too, if an angel beckon, standing close by the throne on high, and you are down by the gates infernal, should open your loving arms and smile, I would turn my back on things supernal to lie at your breast a little while, to know for an hour you were mine completely, mind and body and soul my own. I would bear unending tortures sweetly, with not a murmur and not a moan. A lighter sin or a lesser error might change through hope or fear divine, but there is no fear, and hell has no terror to change or alter a love like mine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Apparition by John Donne. Recorded for LibriVox.org. When by thy scorn, O murderess, I am dead, and that thou think'st thee free from all solicitation from me, then shall my ghost come to thy bed, and thee, feigned vestal, in worse arms shall see. Then thy sick taper will begin to wink, and he whose thou art then, being tired before, will, if thou stir or pinch to wake him, think thou call'st for more, and in false sleep will from thee shrink. And then, poor aspen wretch, neglected thou, bathed in a cold quicksilver sweat wilt lie, a verier ghost than I. What I will say I will not tell thee now, lest that preserve thee, and since my love is spent, I had rather thou shouldst painfully repent, than by my threatenings rest still innocent. End of poem. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Apparitions by Robert Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Apparitions. Such a starved bank of moss, till that May morn, blue ran the flash across, violets were born. Sky, what a scalloped cloud, till near and far, ray on ray split the shroud, splendid, a star. World, how it walled about, life with disgrace, till God's own smile came out, that was thy face. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Art by Herman Melville. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. In placid hours well pleased, we dream of many a brave unbodied scheme, but formed to lend, pulse life create, What unlike things must meet and mate, a flame to melt, a wind to freeze, sad patience, joyous energies, humility, yet pride and scorn, instinct and study, love and hate, audacity, reverence. These must mate and fuse with Jacob's mystic heart to wrestle with the angel, art. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
At the Eisteddfod by Lewis Morris. Read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. The close-ranked faces rise with their watching, eager eyes, and the banners and the mottos blaze above. And without, on either hand, the eternal mountains stand, and the salt sea river ebbs and flows again. And through the thin-drawn bridge the wandering winds complain. Here is the Congress met, the bardic senate set, and young hearts flutter at the voice of fate. All the fair August day song echoes, harpers play, and on the unaccustomed ear the strange Penhilion rise and fall through change and counterchange. O Mona, land of song, O mother of Wales, how long from thy dear shores in exile have I been? Still from thy lonely plains ascend the old sweet strains, and at the mine or plough or humble home the dreaming peasant hears diviner music come. This innocent peaceful strife, this struggle to fuller life, is still the one delight of Cymric souls. Swell blended rhythms still that gay pavilions fill, soarer young voices, resonant and fair, still let the sheathed sword gleam above the bardic chair. The Menai ebbs and flows, and the song-tide wanes and goes, and the singers and the harp-players are dumb. The eternal mountains rise like a cloud upon the skies, and my heart is full of joy for the songs that are still, the deep sea and soaring hills, and the steadfast, omnipotent will. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Author's Boomerang by John Kendrick Banks. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. He frowns with reason. He has always said, the public has no knowledge of true art. The book of worth these days would not be read. 'Tis trash, not truth, that goes upon the mart. And then was published his beloved work. Some 26 editions it has had, and he his own conclusion cannot shirk. With such success as this, it must be bad. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Boadicea by Alfred Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. While about the shore of Mona, those Neronian legionaries burnt and broke the grove, an altar of the Druid and Druidess. Far in the east, Boadicea, standing loftily charioted, mad and maddening all that heard her in her fierce volubility, girt by half the tribes of Britain, near the colony Camulodun, yelled and shrieked between her daughters o'er a wild confederacy. They that scorn the tribes and call us Britain's barbarous populaces, did they hear me? Would they listen? Did they pity me supplicating? Shall I heed them in their anguish? Shall I brook to be supplicated? Hear, Icenian, Catuclocnian, hear, Corytanian, Trinobont. Must the ever-ravening eagle's beak and talon annihilate us, tear the noble heart of Britain, leave it gorily quivering? Bark and answer, Britain's raven, bark and blacken innumerable, blacken round the Roman carrion, make the carcass a skeleton, kite and kestrel, wolf and wolfkin, from the wilderness wallow in it, till the face of Bel be brightened, Tyrannus be propitiated, lo their colony half defended, Lo, their colony Camulodun, there the horde of Roman robbers mock at barbarous adversary. There the hive of Roman liars worship a gluttonous emperor idiot. Such is Rome, and this her deity. Hear it, spirit of Cassiwalaon. Hear it, gods, the gods have heard it. O Icenian, O Corytanian. Doubt not ye, the gods have answered. Kachuk, Trinobant. These have told us all their anger in miraculous utterances. Thunder, a flying fire in heaven, a murmur heard aerially, phantom sound of blows descending, moan of an enemy massacred, phantom wail of women and children, multitudinous agonies. Bloodily flowed the Tomasa, rolling phantom bodies of horses and men. Then a phantom colony smoldered on the refluent estuary. Lastly yonder, yester even, suddenly giddily tottering, there was one who watched and told me, down their statue of victory fell. Lo, their precious Roman bantling, lo, the colony Camulodun. Shall we teach it a Roman lesson? Shall we care to be pitiful? Shall we deal with it as an infant? Shall we dandle it amorously? Here, Icenian, Kachuk, here, Corytanian, Trinobant, while I rove about the forest, long and bitterly meditating. There I heard them in the darkness, at the mystical ceremony, loosely robed in flying raiment, sang the terrible prophetesses. Fear not, isle of blowing woodland, isle of silvery parapets, though the Roman eagle shadow thee, though the gathering enemy narrow thee, thou shalt wax, and he shall dwindle, thou shalt be the mighty one yet. Thine the liberty, thine the glory, thine the deeds to be celebrated, thine the myriad rolling ocean, light and shadow illimitable, thine the lands of lasting summer, many blossoming paradises. Thine the north, and thine the south, and thine the battle thunder of God. So they chanted, how shall Britain light upon auguries happier? So they chanted in the darkness, and there cometh a victory now. Here, Icenian, Kachuk, here, Corytanian, Trinobant, me the wife of rich Prasutagus, me the lover of liberty. Me they seized, and me they tortured, me they lashed and humiliated, me the sport of ribald veterans, mine of ruffian violators. See they sit, they hide their faces, miserable in ignominy. Wherefore in me burns an anger, not by blood to be satiated. Lo, the palaces and the temple, lo, the colony of Camulodun. There they ruled, and thence they wasted all the flourishing territory. Thither at their will they hailed the yellow ringleted Britannists. Bloodily fall the battle-axe. Unexhausted, inexorable. Shout, Icenian, Kachuk, shout, Corytanian, Trinobant. Tell the victim here within, and yearn to hurry precipitously. Like the leaf in a roaring whirlwind, like the smoke in a hurricane whirled. Lo, the colony, there they rioted, in the city of Cunobelline. There they drank in cups of emerald, there at tables of ebony lay, rolling on their purple couches, in their tender effeminacy. There they dwelt, and there they rioted, there they dwell no more. Burst the gates and burn the palaces, break the works of statuary, take the hoary Roman head and shatter it, hold it abominable, cut the Roman boy to pieces in his lust and voluptuousness, lash the maiden into swooning, me they lashed and humiliated, chop the breast from off the mother, dash the brains of the little one out, up my Britons, on my chariot, on my chargers, trample them under us. So the Queen Boadicea, standing loftily charioted, brandishing in her hand a dart, and rolling glances lioness-like, yelled and shrieked between her daughters in her fierce volubility, till her people all around the royal chariot agitated. Madly dashed the darts together, writhing barbarous lineaments, made the noise of frosty woodlands when they shiver in January, roared as when the rolling breakers boom and blanch on the precipices, yelled as when the winds of winter tear an oak on a promontory. So the silent colony, hearing her tumultuous adversaries, clashed the darts and on the buckler beat with rapid unanimous hand, thought on all her evil tyrannies, all her pitiless avarice, till she felt the heart within her fall and flutter tremulously. Then her pulses at the clamoring of her enemy fainted away. Out of evil, evil flourishes, out of tyranny, tyranny buds, ran the land with Roman slaughter, multitudinous agonies. Perished many a maid and matron, many a valorous legionary. Fell the colony, city, and citadel, London Verulam Camulodun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Change by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, October 2025. Changed? Yes, I will confess it. I have changed. I do not love in the old fond way. I am your friend still. Time is not estranged one kindly feeling of that vanished day, but the bright glamour which made life a dream, the rapture of that time, its sweet content, like visions of a sleeper's brain they seem, and yet I cannot tell you how they went. Why do you gaze with such accusing eyes upon me, dear? Is it so very strange that hearts, like all things underneath God's skies, should sometimes feel the influence of change? The birds, the flowers, the foliage of the trees, the stars, which seem so fixed and so sublime, vast continents, and the eternal seas, all these things do change with ever-changing time. The face our mirror shows us year on year is not the same. Our dearest aim or need, our lightest thought or feeling, hope or fear, all the law of alteration heed. How can we ask the human heart to stay content with fancies of youth's earliest hours? The year outgrows the violence of May, although maybe there are no fairer flowers. And life may hold no sweeter love than this, which lies so cold, so voiceless, and so dumb. And shall I miss it, dear? Why, yes. We miss the violets always, till the roses come. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Choosing a Name by Mary Lamb. Read for LibriVox.org by Sherr. I have got a newborn sister. I was nigh the first that kissed her. When the nursing woman brought her to Papa, his infant daughter, how Papa's eyes did glisten. She will shortly be to christen, and Papa has made the offer. I shall have the naming of her. Now, I wonder what would please her, Charlotte, Julia, or Louisa? Anne and Mary, they're too common. Joan's too formal for a woman. Jane's a prettier name beside, but we had a Jane that died. They would say if 'twas Rebecca that she was a little Quaker. Edith's pretty, but that looks better in old English books. Ellen's left off long ago. Blanche is out of fashion now. None that I have named as yet is so good as Margaret. Emily is neat and fine. What do you think of Caroline? How I'm puzzled and perplexed, what to choose or think of next. I am in a little fever, lest the name that I should give her should disgrace her or defame her. I will leave Papa to name her. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Coast View by Charles Harper. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. High mid the shells of a grey cliff, that yet riseth in Babylonian mass above, in a benched cleft, as in the moulded chair of grey-beard Time himself, I sit alone, and gaze with a keen wandering happiness out o'er the sea. Unto the circling bend that verges heaven, a vast luminous plain it stretches, changeful as a lover's dream. Into great spaces, mapped by light and shade, in constant interchange. Either 'neath clouds the billows darken, or they shimmer bright in sunny scopes of measureless expanse. 'Tis ocean dreamless of a stormy hour, calm or but gently heaving. Yet, O God, what a blind, fate-like mightiness lies coiled in slumber under that wide shining face! While o'er the watery gleam, there where its edge banks the dim vacancy, the topmost sails of some tall ship, whose hull is yet unseen, hang as if clinging to a cloud that still comes rising with them from the void beyond, like to a heavenly net drawn from the deep and carried upward by ethereal hands. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Come, Let Us Be Friends by Sarah Lee Brown Fleming. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Come, let us be friends, you and I. You know the world doth hate at this hour. Let's bask in the sunlight of a love so high that war cannot dim it with all its armed power. Come, let us be friends, you and I. The world hath her surplus of hatred today. She needeth more love. See, she droops with a sigh, where her axis doth slant in the sky far away. Come, let us be friends, you and I, and love each other so deep and so well, that the world may grow steady and forward fly, lest she wander towards chaos and drop into hell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Composed upon Westminster Bridge, September 3rd, 1802, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by a sight so touching in its majesty. This city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning. Silent, bare, ships, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie open unto the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor valley, rock, or hill. Ne'er saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Consider the Ravens by George MacDonald. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Lord, according to thy words, I have considered thy birds, and I find their life good, and better the better understood. Sowing neither corn nor wheat, they have all that they can eat. reaping no more than they sow. They have more than they could stow, having neither barn nor store. Hungry again, they eat more. Considering, I see too that they have a busy life and plenty of play. In the earth they dig their bills deep, and work well though they do not heap. Then to play in the air they are not loath, and their nests between are better than both. But this is when there blow no storms, when berries are plenty in winter, and worms, when feathers are rife, with oil enough to keep the cold out and send the rain off. If there come, indeed, a long hard frost, then it looks as thy birds were lost. But I consider further, and find a hungry bird has a free mind. He is hungry today, not tomorrow, steals no comfort, no grief doth borrow. This moment is his, thy will hath set it, the next is nothing till thou hast made it. Thy bird has pain, but has no fear, which is the worst of any gear. When cold and hunger and harm betide him, he does not take them and stuff inside him. Content with the day's ill he has got, he waits just, nor haggles with his lot. Neither jumbles God's will with driblets from his own still. But next I see, in my endeavor, the birds here do not live forever. That cold or hunger, sickness or age, finishes their earthly stage. The rooks drop in cold nights, leaving all their wrongs and rights. Birds lie here and birds lie there, with their feathers all astare. And in thy own sermon, thou that the sparrow falls dost allow. It shall not cause me any alarm, for neither so comes the bird to harm, seeing our Father, thou hast said, is by the sparrow's dying bed. Therefore it is a blessed place, and the sparrow in high grace. It cometh therefore to this, Lord, I have considered thy word, and henceforth will be thy bird. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elevator Boy by Langston Hughes. Read for LibriVox.org by James K. White. Chula Vista. I got a job now, running an elevator, in the Denison Hotel in Jersey. Job ain't no good, though. No money around. Jobs are just chances, like everything else. Maybe a little luck now, maybe not. Maybe a good job sometimes. Step out of the barrel, boy. 2 new suits and a woman to sleep with. Maybe no luck for a long time. Only the elevators, going up and down, up and down. Or somebody else's shoes to shine. Or greasy pots in a dirty kitchen. I've been running this elevator too long. Guess I'll quit now. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fate by John Kendrick Bangs. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. I feel that I am quite as smart as Edward Bulwer Lytton Bart. I'm also every bit as bright as Walter Scott, the Scottish knight. And in my own peculiar way, I'm just as good as Thackeray. But woe is me that it should be that got here years ahead of me, and all the tales I would unfold by them already have been told. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Fine Old English Gentleman by Unknown. Read for LibriVox.org by Sherr. I'll sing you a good old song made by a good old plate of a fine old English gentleman who had an old estate. and who kept up his old mansion at a bountiful old rate, with a good old porter to relieve the old poor at his gate, like a fine old English gentleman, all of the olden time. His hall so old was hung around with pikes and guns and bows, and swords and good old bucklers that had stood some tough old blows. 'Twas there his worship held his state in doublet and trunk hose, and quaffed his cup of good old sack to warm his good old nose, like a fine old English gentleman, all of the olden time. When winter's cold brought frost and snow, he opened house to all, and though 70 his years, he featly led the ball. Nor was the houseless wanderer e'er driven from his hall. For while he feasted all the great, he ne'er forgot the small, like a fine old English gentleman, all of the olden time. But time, though old, is strong in flight, and years rolled swiftly by, and autumn's falling leaves proclaimed, this good old man must die. He laid him down right tranquilly, gave up life's latest sigh, and mournful stillness reigned around, and tears bedewed each eye, for this fine old English gentleman, all of the olden time. Now surely this is better far than all the new parade of theatres and fancy balls, at home and masquerade, and much more economical, for all his bills were paid. Then leave your new old vagaries quite, and take up the old trade of a fine old English gentleman, all of the olden time. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Flame from the Dark Tower by County Cullen. Read for LibriVox.org by James K. White. Chula Vista. We shall not always plant, while others reap the golden increment of bursting fruit, nor always countenance, abject and mute, that lesser men should hold their brothers cheap. Not everlastingly, while others sleep, shall we beguile their limbs with mellow flute, not always bend to some more subtle brute. We were not made eternally to weep. The night whose sable breast relieves the stark white stars is no less lovely being dark, and there are buds that cannot bloom at all in light, but crumple, piteous, and fall. So, in the dark, we hide the heart that bleeds and wait and tend our agonizing seeds. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Flower by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Kylie6Q. Once in a golden hour I cast to earth a seed. Up there came a flower, the people say a weed. To and fro they went through my garden bower, and muttering discontent cursed me and my flower. Then it grew so tall, it wore a crown of light, but thieves from o'er the wall stole the seed by night, sowed it far and wide by every town and tower, till all the people cried, "Splendid is the flower! Read my little fable, he that runs may read. Most can raise the flowers now, for all have got the seed. And some are pretty enough, and some are poor indeed, and now and again the people call it but a weed." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Fog by Carl Sandburg. Read for LibriVox.org by Kylie6Q. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches, then moves on. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Foster Brother by Lewis Morris, read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. Of all the noble damsels in all our Brittany, Granola was the sweetest far, a maiden fair to see. Scarce 18 summers shed their gold upon her shapely head, yet all who loved the fair girl best were numbered with the dead. Her father and her mother, and eke her sisters dear, our merry pity 'twas to see her shed the bitter tear. At her casement in the castle, where a stepdame now bore sway, her dim eyes fixed upon the sea, which glimmered far away. For 3 long years she watched in vain, in dole and misery, to see her foster brother's sails spring up from over sea. For 3 long years she watched in vain, hoping each day would send the only heart which beat to hers, her lover and her friend. Go get you gone and tend the kine, the cruel stepdame said. Leave brooding over long past years, go earn your daily bread. She woke her ere the darkling dawns, while yet was dead of night, to sweep the floors and cleanse the house, and set the fires alight, to fetch the water from the brook again and yet again, with heavy toil and panting breath, and young form bent in twain. One darkling winter morning, before the dawning light, with the ringing hoofs across the brook, there rode a noble knight. Good morrow, gracious maiden, and art thou free to wed? And she, so young she was and meek, I know not, sir, she said. I prithee tell me, maiden, if thou art fancy free. To none, sir, have I plighted yet my maiden troth, said she. Then take, fair maid, this ring of gold, and to your stepdame say, that to-day your troth is plighted to a knight from far away. That at Nantes a battle fierce was fought, wherein his squire was slain, and he himself lies stricken sore upon a bed of pain. But when 3 weeks are overpast, whatever fate betide, he will come himself full gaily, and claim thee for his bride. All breathless ran she homeward, when lo, a wondrous thing, for on her slender finger blazed her foster brother's ring. 2. The weeks crept onward slowly, 1, 2, 3. But never came the young knight, no, never more came he. Come, it is time that you were wed, for I have sought for you a bridegroom fitted to your rank, an honest man and true. Nay, nay, I prithee, stepdame, there is none that I can wed, only my foster brother dear I love, alive or dead. With this ring his troth he plighted, and whatever fate betide, he will come himself full gaily, and claim me for his bride. Peace with thy golden wedding ring, peace, fool, or I will teach, with blows thy senseless chattering tongue to hold discreeter speech. Tomorrow thou shalt be the bride, whether thou wilt or not, of Giles the neat-haired honest man, aye, that shall be thy lot. Of Giles the neat-haired sadist thou, or I shall die of pain, of mother, dear dead mother, that thou wert in life again. Go cry and wail without the house, go feed on misery, go take thy fill of moans and tears, for wedded thou shalt be. 3. Just then the ancient sextant, with the bells that tolls the dead, went up and down the countryside, and these words he said. Pray for the soul of one who was a brave and loyal knight, who bare at Nantes a grievous wound what time they fought the fight. Tomorrow eve at set of sun, amid the gathering gloom, from the white church they bear him forth, to rest within the tomb. 4. Thou art early from the wedding feast, good truth I could not stay. I dared not see the piteous sight, and therefore turned away. I could not bear the pity and the horror in her eye, as she stood so fair in blank despair within the sacred shrine. Around the hapless maiden all were weeping bitterly, and the good old rector at the church, a heavy heart had he. Not a dry eye was around her, save the stepdame stern alone, who looked on with an evil smile, as from a heart of stone. And when the ringers rang a peal, as now they came again, women whispered comfort, yet a heart seemed rent in twain. High in the place of honour at the marriage feast she sate, and yet not one drop of water drank she, and no crumb of bread she ate. And when at last, the feast being done, they would light the bride to bed, the ring from off her finger she flung, the wreath from off her head. and with wild eye that spoke despair and locks that streamed behind, into the darkling night she fled, as swiftly as the wind. The lights within the castle were out, and all asleep. Only with fever in her brain the maid would watch and weep. The chamber door swung open. Who cares there? Do not fear, Gwen, 'tis I, your foster brother. Oh, at last, my love, my dear! He raised her to the saddle, and his strong arm clasped her round, as through the night his charger white flew on without a sound. How fast we go, my brother! 'Tis 100 leagues or more. How happy am I, happier than in all my life before. And have we far to go, my brother? I would that we would come. Have patience, sister, hold me fast. 'Tis a long way to our home. The white owl shrieked around them. The wild thing shrank in fear, as through the night a cloud of light that ghostly steed drew near. How swift your charger is, brother, and your armour, oh, how so bright! Ah, no more you are a boy, brother, but in troth a noble knight. How beautiful you are, brother, but I would know that we were come. Have patience, sister, hold me fast. We are not far from home. Breath is icy cold, brother, your locks are dank and wet. Your heart, your hands are icy cold. Oh, is it further yet? Have patience, sister, hold me fast, for we are nearly there. Hist, hear you not our marriage bells ring through the midnight air? Even with the word that ghostly steed neighed suddenly and shrill, then trembled once through every limb, and like a stone stood still. And lo, within a land they were, a land of mirth and pleasure, where youths and maidens hand in hand danced to a joyous measure. A verdant orchard closed them round, with golden fruit bedight, and above them from the heaven-kissed hills came shafts of golden light. Hard by a cool spring bubbled clear, a fountain without stain, whereof the dead lips tasting grew warm with life again. There was Gwenola's mother mild, and eke her sisters dear. O land of joy and bliss and love, O land without a tear. 6. But when the next sun on the earth baked from the gathered gloom, from the white church the young maids bore the Virgin to her tomb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fragment by Christopher Marlowe. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. Fragment. I walked along the stream for pureness rare, brighter than sunshine, for it did acquaint the dullest sight with all the glorious prey that in the pebble-paved channel lay. No molten crystal, but a richer mine, even nature's rarest alchemy, ran there. Diamonds resolved, and substance more divine, through whose bright gliding current might appear 1,000 naked nymphs, whose ivory shine, enamelling the banks, made them more dear than ever was that glorious palace gate, where the day's shining sun in triumph sate. Upon this brim the eglantine and rose, the tamarisk, olive, and the almond tree, as kind companions in one union grows, folding their twining arms, as oft we see turtle-taught lovers either other close, lending to dullness feeling sympathy, and as a costly valance o'er a bed, so did their garland tops the brook o'erspread. Their leaves, that differed both in shape and show, though all were green, yet difference such in green, like to the checkered bent of iris bow, prided the running mane, as it had been. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fungi from Yuggoth by H.P. Lovecraft. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Tucker. 1. The Book. The place was dark and dusty and half lost in tangles of old alleys near the quays, reeking of strange things brought in from the seas, and with queer curls of fog that west winds tossed. Small lozenge panes, obscured by smoke and frost, just showed the books in piles like twisted trees, rotting from floor to roof, congeries of crumbling elder lore at little cost. I entered, charmed, and from a cobwebbed heap took up the nearest tome and thumbed it through, trembling at curious words that seemed to keep some secret, monstrous if one only knew. Then looking for some cellar old in craft, I could find nothing but a voice that laughed. 2. Pursuit. I held the book beneath my coat, at pains to hide the thing from sight in such a place, hurrying through the ancient harbour lanes with often turning head and nervous pace. Dull furtive windows in old tottering brick peered at me oddly as I hastened by, and thinking what they sheltered, I grew sick for a redeeming glimpse of clean blue sky. No one had seen me take the thing, but still a blank laugh echoed in my whirling head, and I could guess what nighted words of ill lurked in that volume I had coveted. The way grew strange, the walls alike and madding, and far behind me unseen feet were padding. 3. The Key. I do not know what windings in the waste of those strange sea lanes brought me home once more, but on my porch I trembled, white with haste, to get inside and bolt the heavy door. I had the book that told the hidden way across the void and through the space-hung screens that hold the undimensioned worlds at bay and keep lost aeons to their own domains. At last the key was mine to those vague visions of sunset spires and twilight woods that brood dim in the gulfs beyond this earth's precisions, lurking as memories of infinitude. The key was mine, but as I sat there mumbling, the attic window shook with a faint fumbling. 4. Recognition. The day had come again when as a child I saw just once that hollow of old oaks, grey with a ground mist that enfolds and chokes the slinking shapes which madness has defiled. It was the same, and herbage rank and wild clings round an altar whose carved sign invokes that nameless one to whom 1,000 smokes rose, eons gone, from unclean towers uppiled. I saw the body spread on that dank stone, and knew those things which feasted were not men. I knew this strange grey world was not my own, but Yuggoth, past the starry voids, and then the body shrieked at me with a dead cry, and all too late I knew that it was I. 5. Homecoming. The demon said that he would take me home to the pale shadowy land I half recalled as a high place of stair and terrace, walled with marble balustrades that sky winds comb, while miles below a maze of dome on dome and tower on tower beside a sea lies sprawled. Once more he told me I would stand enthralled on those old heights and hear the far-off foam. All this he promised, and through sunset's gate he swept me past the lapping lakes of flame, and red gold thrones of gods without a name, who shriek in fear at some impending fate. Then a black gulf with sea sounds in the night. Here was your home, he mocked, when you had sight. 6. The Lamp. We found the lamp inside those hollow cliffs, whose chiselled signs no priest in Thebes could read, and from whose caverns frightening hieroglyphs warned every living creature of earth's breed. No more was there, just that one brazen bowl with traces of a curious oil within, fretted with some obscurely patterned scroll and symbols hinting vaguely of strange sin. Little the fears of 40 centuries meant to us as we bore off our slender spoil, and when we scanned it in our darkened tent we struck a match to test the ancient oil. It blazed, great God, but the vast shapes we saw in that mad flash have seared our lives with awe. 7. Zaman's Hill. A great hill hung close over the old town, a precipice against the main street's end, green, tall and wooded, looking darkly down upon the steeple at the highway's bend. 200 years the whispers had been heard about what happened on the man-shunned slope, tales of an oddly mangled deer or bird, or of lost boys whose kin had ceased to hope. One day the mailman found no village there, nor were its folk or houses seen again. People came out from Aylesbury to stare, yet they all told the mailman it was plain that he was mad for saying he had spied the great hill's gluttonous eyes and jaws stretched wide. 8. The Port. 10 miles from Arkham I had struck the trail that rides the cliff edge over Boynton Beach, and hoped that just at sunset I could reach the crest that looks on Innsmouth in the vale. Far out at sea was a retreating sail, white as hard years of ancient winds could bleach, but evil with some portent beyond speech, so that I did not wave my hand or hail. Sails out of Innsmouth, echoing old renown of long-dead times, but now a too swift night is closing in, and I have reached the height whence I so often scan the distant town. The spires and roofs are there, but look, the gloom sinks on dark lanes as lightless as the tomb. 9. The courtyard. It was the city I had known before, the ancient leprous town where mongrel throngs chant to strange gods and beat unhallowed gongs in crypts beneath foul alleys near the shore. The rotting fish-eyed houses leered at me from where they leaned, drunk and half animate, as edging through the filth I passed the gate to the black courtyard where the man would be. The dark walls closed me in, and loud I cursed that ever I had come to such a den, when suddenly a score of windows burst into wild light and swarmed with dancing men, mad, soundless revels of the dragging dead, and not a corpse had either hands or head. 10. The pigeon flyers. They took me slumming where gaunt walls of brick bulge outward with a viscous stored-up evil, and twisted faces thronging foul and thick, wick messages to alien god and devil. A million flares were blazing in the streets, and from flat roofs a furtive few would fly bedraggled birds into the yawning sky, while hidden drums droned on with measured beats. I knew those fires were brewing monstrous things, and that those birds had been outside. I guessed to what dark planet's crypts they plied, and what they brought from fog beneath their wings. The others laughed, till struck too mute to speak by what they glimpsed in one bird's evil beak. 11. The well. Farmer Seth Atwood was past 80 when he tried to sink that deep well by his door, with only ebb to help him bore and bore. We laughed and hoped he'd soon be sane again, and yet instead young Ebb went crazy too, so that they shipped him up to the county farm. Seth bricked the well up as tight as glue, then hacked an artery in his gnarled left arm. After the funeral we felt bound to get out to that well and rip the bricks away, but all we saw were iron handholds set down a black hole deeper than we could say. And yet we put the bricks back, for we found the hole too deep for any line to sound. 12. The howler. They told me not to take the Briggs Hill path that used to be the high road through to Zoar, for Goody Watkins, hanged in 1704, had left a certain monstrous aftermath. Yet when I disobeyed and had in view the vine-hung cottage by the great rock slope, I could not think of elms or hempen rope, but wondered why the house still seemed so new. Stopping a while to watch the fading day, I heard faint howls, as from a room upstairs, when through the ivied panes one sunset ray struck in and caught the howler unawares. I glimpsed and ran in frenzy from the place, and from a four-pawed thing with human face. 13. Hesperia. The winter sunset, flaming beyond spires and chimneys half detached from this dull sphere, opens great gates to some forgotten year of elder splendours and divine desires. Expectant wonders burn in those rich fires, adventure fraught, and not untinged with fear. A row of sphinxes where the way leads clear toward walls and turrets quivering to far lyres. It is the land where beauty's meaning flowers, where every unplaced memory has a source, where the great river Time begins its course down the vast void in starlit streams of hours. Dreams bring us close, but ancient lore repeats that human tread has never soiled these streets. 14. Star winds. It is a certain hour of twilight glooms, mostly in autumn, when the star wind pours down hilltop streets, deserted out of doors, but showing early lamplight from snug rooms. The dead leaves rush in strange, fantastic twists, and chimney smoke whirls round with alien grace, heeding geometries of outer space, while Fomalhaut peers in through southward mists. This is the hour when moonstruck poets know what fungi sprout in Yuggoth, and what scents and tints of flowers fill Nithon's continents, such as in no poor earthly garden blow. Yet for each dream these winds to me convey, a dozen more of ours they sweep away. 15. Antarctos. Deep in my dream the great bird whispered queerly of the black cone amid the polar waste, pushing above the ice sheet lone and drearily, by storm-crazed eons battered and defaced. Hither no living earth shapes take their courses, and only pale auroras and faint suns glow on that pitted rock, whose primal sources are guessed at dimly by the elder ones. If men should glimpse it, they would merely wonder what tricky mound of nature's build they spied. But the birds told of vaster parts that under the mile-deep ice-shroud crouch and brood and hide. God help the dreamer whose mad visions show those dead eyes set in crystal gulfs below. 16. The window. The house was old, with tangled wings outthrown, of which no one could ever half keep track, and in a small room somewhat near the back was an odd window sealed with ancient stone. There in a dream-plagued childhood, quite alone I used to go, where night reigned vague and black, parting the cobwebs with a curious lack of fear and with a wonder each time grown. One later day I brought the masons there, to find what view my dim forebears had shunned. But as they pierced the stone, a rush of air burst from the alien voids that yawned beyond. They fled, but I peered through and found unrolled all the wild worlds of which my dreams had told. 17. A memory. There were great steppes and rocky tablelands stretching half limitless in starlit night, with alien campfires shedding feeble light on beasts with tinkling bells in shaggy bands. Far to the south the plain sloped low and wide to a dark zigzag line of wall that lay like a huge python of some primal day, which endless time had chilled and petrified. I shivered oddly in the cold, thin air and wondered where I was and how I came, when a cloaked form against a campfire's glare rose and approached, and called me by my name. Staring at that dead face beneath the hood, I ceased to hope, because I understood. 18. The Gardens of Yin. Beyond that wall, whose ancient masonry reached almost to the sky in moss-thick towers, there would be terraced gardens rich with flowers and flutter of bird and butterfly and bee. There would be walks and bridges arching over warm lotus pools reflecting temple eaves, and cherry trees with delicate boughs and leaves against a pink sky where the herons hover. All would be there, for had not old dreams flung open the gates to that stone-lanterned maze where drowsy dreams spin out their winding ways, trailed by green vines from bending branches hung? I hurried, but when the wall rose grim and great, I found there was no longer any gate. 19. The bells. Year after year I heard that faint, far ringing of deep-toned bells on the black midnight wind. Peals from no steeples I could ever find, but strange as if across some great void winging. I searched my dreams and memories for a clue, and thought of all the chimes my visions carried, of quiet Innsmouth, where the white gulls tarried around an ancient spire that once I knew. Always perplexed I heard those far notes falling, till one March night the bleak rain splashing cold beckoned me back through gateways of recalling to elder towers where the mad clappers tolled. They tolled, but from the sunless tides that pour through sunken valleys on the sea's dead floor. 20. Night gaunts. Out of what crypt they crawl I cannot tell, but every night I see the rubbery things, black-horned and slender with membranous wings, and tails that bear the bifid barb of hell. They come in legions on the north wind's swell, with obscene clutch that titillates and stings, snatching me off on monstrous voyagings to grey worlds hidden deep in nightmare's well. Over the jagged peaks of Thok they sweep, heedless of all the cries I try to make, and down the nether pits to that foul lake where the puffed shaggoths splash in doubtful sleep. But oh, if they would only make some sound, or wear a face where faces should be found. 21. Nyarlathotep. And at the last from inner Egypt came the strange dark one to whom the fellahs bowed, silent and lean and cryptically proud, and wrapped in fabrics red as sunset flame. Throngs pressed around, frantic for his commands, but leaving could not tell what they had heard, while through the nations spread the awestruck word that wild beasts followed him and licked his hands. Soon from the sea a noxious birth began, forgotten lands with weedy spires of gold. The ground was cleft, and mad auroras rolled down on the quaking citadels of man. Then, crushing what he chanced in play, the idiot chaos blew earth's dust away. 22. Azathoth. Out in the mindless void the demon bore me, past the bright clusters of dimensioned space, till neither time nor matter stretched before me, but only chaos without form or place. Here the vast Lord of all in darkness muttered things he had dreamed but could not understand, while near him shapeless bat things flopped and fluttered in idiot vortices that ray streams fanned. They danced insanely to the high, thin whining of a cracked flute clutched in a monstrous paw, whence flow the aimless waves whose chance combining gives each frail cosmos its eternal law. I am his messenger, the demon said, as in contempt he struck his master's head. 23. Mirage. I do not know if ever it existed, that lost world floating dimly on time's stream, and yet I see it often, violet-misted, and shimmering at the back of some vague dream. There were strange towers and curious lapping rivers, labyrinths of wonder and low vaults of light, and bow-crossed skies of flame, like that which quivers wistfully just before a winter's night. Great moors led off to sedgy shores unpeopled, where vast birds wheeled, while on a wind-swept hill there was a village, ancient and white-steepled, with evening chimes for which I listened still. I do not know what land it is, or dare ask when or why I was or will be there. 24. The Canal. Somewhere in dream there is an evil place where tall deserted buildings crowd along a deep black narrow channel, reeking strong of frightful things where oily currents race. Lanes with old walls half meeting overhead wind off to streets one may or may not know, and feeble moonlight sheds a spectral glow over long rows of windows, dark and dead. There are no footfalls, and the one soft sound is of the oily water as it glides under stone bridges and along the sides of its deep flume to some vague ocean bound. None lives to tell when that stream washed away its dream-lost region from the world of day. 25. St. Toad's. Beware St. Toad's cracked chimes, I heard him scream as I plunged into those mad lanes that wind in labyrinths obscure and undefined, south of the river where old centuries dream. He was a furtive figure, bent and ragged, and in a flash had staggered out of sight. So still I burrowed onward in the night, toward where more roof lines rose, malign and jagged. No guidebook told of what was lurking here, but now I heard another old man shriek, "Beware St. Toad's cracked chimes!" And growing weak I paused, when a third grey-beard croaked in fear, "Beware St. Toad's cracked chimes!" Aghast I fled, till suddenly that vast spire loomed ahead. 26. The Familiars. John Whately lived about a mile from town, up where the hills begin to huddle thick. We never thought his wits were very quick, seeing the way he let his farm run down. He used to waste his time on some queer books he'd found around the attic of his place, till funny lines got creased into his face, and folks all said they didn't like his looks. When he began those night howls, we declared he'd better be locked up away from harm. So 3 men from the Aylesbury town farm went for him, but came back alone and scared. They'd found him talking to 2 crouching things that at their step flew off on great black wings. 27. The Elder Pharos. From Ling, where rocky peaks climb bleak and bare under cold stars obscure to human sight, there shoots at dusk a single beam of light, whose far blue rays make shepherds whine in prayer. They say, though none has been there, that it comes out of a pharos in a tower of stone, where the last Elder One lives on alone, talking to chaos with the beat of drums. The thing, they whisper, wears a silken mask of yellow, whose queer folds appear to hide a face not of this earth, though none dares ask just what those features are which bulge inside. Many in man's first youth sought out that glow, but what they found no one will ever know. 28. Expectancy. I cannot tell why some things hold for me a sense of unplumbed marvels to befall, or of a rift in the horizon's wall, opening to worlds where only gods can be. There is a breathless, vague expectancy, as of vast adventures, uncorporeal, ecstasy-fraught, and as a daydream free. It is in sunsets and strange city spires, old villages and woods and misty downs, south winds, the sea, low hills and lighted towns, old gardens, half-heard songs and the moon's fires. But though its lure alone makes life worth living, none gains or guesses what it hints at giving. 29. Nostalgia. Once every year in autumn's wistful glow the birds fly out over an ocean waste, calling and chattering in a joyous haste to reach some land their inner memories know. Great terraced gardens where bright blossoms blow, and lines of mangoes luscious to the taste, and temple groves with branches interlaced over cool paths, all these their vague dreams show. They search the sea for marks of their old shore, for the tall city white and turreted, but only empty waters stretch ahead, so that at last they turn away once more, yet sunken deep where alien polyps throng. The old towers miss their lost, remembered song. 30. Background. I never can be tied to raw, new things, for I first saw the light in an old town, where from my window huddled roofs sloped down to a quaint harbour rich with visionings. Streets with carved doorways where the sunset beams flooded old fanlights and small window panes, and Georgian steeples topped with gilded vines. These were the sights that shaped my childhood dreams. Such treasures, left from times of cautious leaven, cannot but loose the hold of flimsier wraiths that flit with shifting ways and muddled faiths across the changeless walls of earth and heaven. They cut the moment's thongs and leave me free to stand alone before eternity. 31. The Dweller. It had been old when Babylon was new. None knows how long it slept beneath the ground, where in the end our questing shovels found its granite blocks and brought it back to view. There were vast pavements and foundation walls, and crumbling slabs and statues, carved to show fantastic beings of some long ago, past anything the world of man recalls. And then we saw those stone steps leading down through a choked gate of graven dolomite to some black haven of eternal night, where elder signs and primal secrets frown. We cleared a path, but raced in mad retreat when from below we heard those clumping feet. 32. Alienation. His solid flesh had never been away, for each dawn found him in his usual place. But every night his spirit loved to race through gulfs and worlds remote from common day. He had seen Yuggoth, yet retained his mind, and come back safely from the Guric zone, when one still night across curved space was thrown that beckoning piping from the voids beyond. He waked that morning as an older man, and nothing since has looked the same to him. Objects around float nebulous and dim, false phantom trifles of some vaster plan. His folk and friends are now an alien throng to which he struggles vainly to belong. 33. Harbour Whistles. Over old roofs and past decaying spires the harbour whistles chant all through the night, and fabulous oceans, ranged in motley choirs, each to the other alien and unknown, yet all by some obscurely focused force from brooding gulfs beyond the zodiac's course, fused into one mysterious cosmic drone. Through shadowy dreams they send a marching line of still more shadowy shapes and hints and views, echoes from outer voids and subtle clues to things which they themselves cannot define. And always in that chorus, faintly blent, we catch some notes no earth ship ever sent. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Hand-Me-Down by Edwin C. Rank, read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Said Sue to her suitor, "You'll get a new suit, or I'll sue for a suitor to suit." "Why, Sue," said her suitor, who tried hard to suit her, "your suitor is suited to suit." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Haunted Palace by Edgar Allan Poe, recorded for LibriVox.org. In the greenest of our valleys, by good angels tenanted, once a fair and stately palace, radiant palace, reared its head. In the monarch thought's dominion, it stood there. Never seraph spread a pinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden, on its roof did float and flow. This, all this, was in the olden time long ago, and every gentle air that dallied in that sweet day along the ramparts plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley through 2 luminous windows saw spirits moving musically to a lute's well-tuned law, bound about a throne where, sitting, Porphyrogene, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace store, through which came flowing, and sparkling evermore a troop of echoes whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things in robes of sorrow assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for never morrow shall dawn upon him desolate, and round about his home the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim remembered story of the old time entombed. And travellers now within that valley through the red-litten windows see vast forms that move fantastically to a discordant melody, while like a ghastly rapid river through the pale door a hideous throng rush out forever and laugh, but smile no more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Home Thoughts from Abroad by Robert Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Home Thoughts from Abroad. Oh, to be in England, now that April's there, and whoever wakes in England sees some morning unaware that the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf round the elm tree bole are in tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough in England now. And after April, when May follows, and the white-throat bills, and all the swallows, hark, up where my blossom pear-tree in the hedge leans to the field and scatters on the clover blossoms and dewdrops at the bent spray's edge. That's the wise thrush. He sings each song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture the first fine careless rapture. And though the fields look rough with hoary dew, all will be gay when noontide wakes anew. The buttercups, the little children's dower, far brighter than the Scotty melon flower. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Three by James Joyce. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. At that hour when all things have repose, O lonely watcher of the skies, do you hear the night wind and the sighs of harps playing unto love to unclose the pale gates of sunrise? When all things repose, do you alone awake to hear the sweet harps play to love before him on his way, and the night wind answering in antiphon till night is overgone? Play on, invisible harps, unto love, whose way in heaven is aglow at that hour when soft lights come and go, soft sweet music in the air above and in the earth below. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Never Saw a Moor by Emily Dickinson. Read for LibriVox.org by Kylie6Q. I never saw a moor, I never saw the sea, yet know I how the heather looks and what a billow be. I never spoke with God, nor visited in heaven, yet certain am I of the spot as if the checks were given. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love by Charles Harper. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy. She loves me. From her own bliss-breathing lips the live confession came, like rich perfume from crimson petals bursting into bloom. And still my heart at the remembrance skips like a young lion, and my tongue, too, trips as drunk with joy, while every object seen in life's diurnal round wears in its mien a clear assurance that no doubts eclipse. And if the common things of nature now are like old faces flushed with new delight, much more the consciousness of that rich vow deepens the beauteous and refines the bright, while throned I seem on love's divinest height mid all the glories glowing round its brow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love and Death by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. What time the mighty moon was gathering light, Love paced the thymy plots of paradise, and all about him rolled his lustrous eyes, when turning round Acacia, full in view, Death, walking all alone beneath a yew, and talking to himself, first met his sight. "You must be gone," said Death, "these walks are mine." Love wept, and spread his sheeny vans for flight, yet ere he parted said, "This hour is thine. Thou art the shadow of life, and as the tree stands in the sun, and shadows all beneath, so in the light of great eternity, life eminent creates the shade of death. The shadow passeth when the tree shall fall, but I shall reign forever over all." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love Unchanged by Lewis Morris. Read for LibriVox.org by Cavaet. My love, if I were old, my body bent, my blood grown cold, with thin white hairs upon my brow, say, wouldst thou think of me as now? Wouldst thou cling to me still, as down life's sloping hill we come at last through the unresting years? Art thou prepared for tears, for time's shortcoming losses, for life's despites and crosses? My love, my love. Ah, brief our little day, our years that fleet so fast away. Before our summer's scarce begun, look, spring and blossom tide are done. When all things hasten past, how should love only last? How should our souls alone unchanged remain? Come pleasure or come pain, in days of joy and gladness, in years of grief and sadness, love shall be love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Modest Wit by Selleck Osborne. Read for LibriVox.org by TriciaG. A supercilious nabob of the East, haughty, being great, purse-proud, being rich, a governor or general at the least, I have forgotten which, had in his family a humble youth, who went from England in his patron's suit, an unassuming boy, in truth, a lad of decent parts and good repute. This youth had sense and spirit, but yet with all his sense, excessive diffidence obscured his merit. One day at table, flushed with pride and wine, his honour, proudly free, severely merry, conceived it would be vastly fine to crack a joke upon his secretary. "Young man," he said, "by what art, craft, or trade did your good father gain a livelihood?" "He was a saddler, sir," Modestus said, "and in his time was reckoned good." "A saddler, eh? And taught you Greek instead of teaching you to sew. Pray, why did not your father make a saddler, sir, of you?" Each parasite then, as in duty bound, the joke applauded, and the laugh went round. At length Modestus, bowing low, said, craving pardon if too free he made, "Sir, by your leave, I fain would know your father's trade." "My father's trade? By heaven, that's too bad. My father's trade? Why, blockhead, are you mad? My father, sir, did never stoop so low, he was a gentleman, I'd have you know." Excuse the liberty I take, Modestus said, with archness on his brow. Pray, why did not your father make a gentleman of you? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Star by Robert Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. My Star. All that I know of a certain star is it can throw like the angled spar. Now I dart of red, now I dart of blue, till my friends have said they would fain see too. My star that dartles the red and the blue. Then it stops like a bird, like a flower hangs furled. They must solace themselves with the Saturn above it. What matter to me if their star is a world? Mine has opened its soul to me, therefore I love it. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Nature by Jones Very. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. The bubbling brook doth leap when I come by, because my feet find measure with its call. The birds know when the friend they love is nigh, for I am known to them, both great and small. The flower that on the lonely hillside grows expects me there when spring its bloom has given. And many a tree and bush my wanderings knows, and e'en the clouds and silent stars of heaven. For he who with his Maker walks aright shall be the Lord, as Adam was before. His ear shall catch each sound with new delight, each object wear the dress that then it wore. And he, as when erect in soul he stood, hear from his Father's lips that all is good. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pauline Barrett, from Spoon River Anthology, by Edgar Lee Masters. Read for LibriVox.org by Rags. Almost the shell of a woman after the surgeon's knife, and almost a year to creep back into strength, till the dawn of our wedding decennial found me my seeming self again. We walked the forest together, by a path of soundless moss and turf, but I could not look in your eyes, and you could not look in my eyes, for such sorrow was ours, the beginning of gray in your hair, and I but a shell of myself. And what did we talk of? Sky and water. Anything, most to hide our thoughts. And then your gift of wild roses, set on the table to grace our dinner. Poor heart, how bravely you struggled to imagine and live a remembered rapture. Then my spirit drooped as the night came on, and you left me alone in my room for a while, as you did when I was a bride, poor heart. And I looked in the mirror, and something said, one should be all dead when one is half dead, nor ever mock life, nor ever cheat love. And I did it, looking there in the mirror. Dear, have you ever understood? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Poet by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The poet in a golden clime was born, with golden stars above, dowered with the hate of hate, the scorn of scorn, the love of love. He saw through life and death, through good and ill, he saw through his own soul. The marvel of the everlasting will, an open scroll before him lay. with echoing feet he threaded the secretest walks of fame. The viewless arrows of his thoughts were headed and winged with flame, like Indian reeds blown from his silver tongue, and of so fierce a flight, from Calpe unto Caucasus they sung, filling with light and vagrant melodies the winds which bore them earthward till they lit. Then, like the arrow seeds of the field flower, the fruitful wit, cleaving, took root, and springing forth anew where'er they fell, behold, like to the mother plant in semblance grew a flower, all gold, and bravely furnished all abroad to fling the winged shafts of truth, to throng with stately blooms the breathing spring of hope and youth. So many minds did gird their orbs with beams, though one did fling the fire. Heaven flowed upon the soul in many dreams of high desire. Thus truth was multiplied on truth, the world like one great garden showed, and through the wreaths of floating dark upcurled, rare sunrise flowed. And freedom reared in that august sunrise her beautiful bold brow, when rites and forms before his burning eyes melted like snow. There was no blood upon her maiden robes, sunned by those orient skies, but round about the circles of the globes of her keen eyes, and in her raiment hem was traced in flame wisdom, a name to shake all evil dreams of power, a sacred name. And when she spake, her words did gather thunder as they ran, and as the lightning to the thunder which follows it, riving the spirit of man, making earth wonder. So was their meaning to her words. No sword of wrath her right arm whirled, but one poor poet's scroll, and with his word she shook the world. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Poet's Mind by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Vex not thou the poet's mind with thy shallow wit. Vex not thou the poet's mind, for thou canst not fathom it. Clear and bright it should be ever, flowing like a crystal river, bright as light and clear as wind, clear as summer mountain streams, bright as the inwoven beams, which beneath their crisping sapphire, in the midday floating o'er the golden sands, make evermore to a blossom starred shore. Hence away, unhallowed laughter, dark-browed sophist, come not anear. All the place is holy ground. Hollow smile and frozen sneer, come not here. Holy water will I pour into every spicy flower of the laurel shrubs that hedge it around. The flowers would faint at your cruel cheer. In your eye there is death, there is frost in your breath, which would blight the plants. Where you stand you cannot hear, from the groves within, the wild bird's din. In the heart of the garden the merry bird chants. It would fall to the ground if you came in. In the middle leaps a fountain, like sheet lightning, ever brightening with a low melodious thunder. All day and all night it is ever drawn from the brain of the purple mountain which stands in the distance yonder. It springs on a level of bowery lawn, and the mountain draws it from heaven above, and it sings a song of undying love. And yet, though its voice be so clear and full, you never would hear it, your ears are so dull. So keep where you are foul with sin, it would shrink to the earth if you came in. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Poor by Letitia Elizabeth Landon. Read for LibriVox.org by Simmi. Few save the poor. Feel for the poor. The rich know not how hard it is to be of needful food and needful rest debarred. Their paths are paths of plenteousness. They sleep on silk and down, and never think how heavily the weary head lies down. They know not of the scanty meal, with small pale faces round. No fire upon the cold damp hearth, when snow is on the ground. They never by the window lean, and see the gay pass by, then take their weary task again, but with a sadder eye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Purple Raven by Maurice Switzer. Read for LibriVox.org by TriciaG. Once upon a midnight dreary, in a hamlet on the Erie, a benighted show disbanded, for the ghost would walk no more. Sadly down and out I landed in the village tavern, stranded, with a wardrobe second-handed, in my pocket, pennies 4, with a fraction of a nickel in my wallet, pennies 4, just that much and nothing more. In my hall room I reflected, growing gloomy and dejected, on the far-away Rialto with its haunts that I adore. There in sadness I sat dreaming of the lights on Broadway gleaming, of the happy faces beaming, and the city's mighty roar. Dreaming of the distant city and its mad nocturnal roar, I was sad and sick and sore. Shades of Thespis! I, McBarrett, stranded in a very garret. I, Horatio McBarrett, who in palmy days of yore, the whole public press had lauded, and the people had applauded. Aye, ovations had accorded that the roof asunder tore. Such applause as split the rafters and the dome asunder tore. All of that and something more. Then, I cried, this is the ending of a genius great, transcending. O relentless fate unbending, give me answer, I implore. Thus the fickle dame invoking, a dill pickle I sat smoking, and the fumes of which were choking, it was rotten to the core. 'Twas a property cigar, nameless punk to very core, made of cabbage, nothing more. Thus in pain I cogitated on that enterprise ill-fated, widely billed with flaring posters, 3 sheet, 8, and 24, as a monster presentation with a cast of reputation, meaning me. Its appellation was, Why Maisie Quit the Store. And by dint of iron nerve and brazen front I played the store, only that and nothing more. Would my eminence diminish till at last my abject finish was to pose in moving pictures as perhaps a matador, or some figure less exalted, some harlequin assaulted, madly chased, lassoed and halted by some burly stevedore? I could see my form upon the screen beneath the stevedore, oozing sweat from every pore. Here the need of dough, however, made me sit up and endeavor to fling aside these reveries that so heavy on me bore. It was up to me to borrow or to beat it on the morrow. So I realized in sorrow as I paced my chamber floor. I saw beat it, beg or borrow written on the chamber floor, only that and nothing more. Oh, for one I could politely touch for 10, 'twas useless really, in advance I knew the answer to a touch, 'tis ancient lore. Then as prospects looked most dreary, and I sat despondent, weary, I heard someone singing, "Dearie," 'twas the ingenue Lenore. Ah, a voice just like the whistle on the Erie had Lenore, like a siren, only more. Dwelt on Easy Street this lady, on the favored side called Shady, but no mummer knew the angel who financed the fair Lenore. Unto her my faith I'd anchor, she'd consent to be my banker, or by the gods I'd spank her, this most solemnly I swore, as she presently stood posing at my door, that much I swore. She had plenty and some more. Quite ingenuous and easy, after fashion Japanesey, she declined the chair I offered, and sat down upon the floor. There she squatted on the matting, and kept vacuously chatting, while I lied without the batting of an eyelid as I swore, she possessed a voice the like of which was never heard before. Outside madhouse, ne'er before. Here right skilfully I pleaded for the 10 spot that I needed, and she readily assented, as I'd guessed some time before. Then there came a sound perplexing at the moment of annexing that fair 10 spot. This was vexing, some one knocking at the door. 'Twas some butterin unwelcome, knocking at my chamber door. It was sickening, nothing more. "This is certainly distressing," I remarked, myself addressing. "A most unwelcome visitor come to thwart me," so I swore. Still a calm demeanor feigning, I stalked off uncomplaining, yet with little heart remaining, and I opened wide the door. But the odor of the kitchen floated through the open door, only that and nothing more. I was probably mistaken, by the wind the door was shaken, said I, glad indeed no visitor was come to scare Lenore, but I scarcely was reseated ere the rapping was repeated, and again I was defeated, I when just about to score. Then I raced across the floor. Quick I hung aside the shutter, when, without a skirt or flutter, a curious purple raven did into the chamber soar. And I watched it much astounded, really speechless and dumbfounded, calmly circle twice around it, then alight on Theodore, calmly land upon a pallid plaster bust of Theodore, worth a quarter, hardly more. Said the fair Lenore, arising all a-tremble, "How surprising!" Here her confidence and courage I proceeded to restore. I remarked that in New Haven they produced that brand of raven, but in truth so queer a craven I had heard of ne'er before. Such a curious purple raven I had heard of ne'er before. He sat brooding, nothing more. Howsoever I fell musing, 'twas ridiculous refusing to harbor this queer prodigy from some unknown distant shore. I could sell him on the morrow, happy thought, and now to borrow 10, quite listless sat the raven on the bust of Theodore. Scarcely blinked, just sat in silence on the bust of Theodore, half awake and nothing more. I had courage now in plenty, so I raised the touch to 20, and Lenore she took it calmly, simply nodded, nothing more. But I saw the raven blinking, rather insolently winking, till I couldn't keep from thinking he was tipping off Lenore, but reflecting on her future, unobservant sat Lenore. Here I brought her to once more. Said she, "Surely, in a minute, just you wait till I unpin it." And then digging up a wad, she soon peeled off one golden score. In the very act of handing, as I reached to make a landing, she quite floored me by demanding, "Say, when will you this restore? I would like to know for certain when this 20 you'll restore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." How I trembled twixt vexation, rage, surprise, exasperation. Oh, was ever man confounded by a bird like this before? Cried I, "Thing of evil, learned in the devil's art, guldurn it! Beast, when said you I'd return it?" Quoth the raven, nevermore. Thus the wretched fowl reiterated calmly, nevermore, only that and nothing more. Said Lenore, how very funny! I think I'll keep my money. I believe that bird's our hoodoo. He's pursuing us. Oh, lor! Round the wad her fingers tightened, and her rosy face grew whitened, as she stumbled, badly frightened, towards the open chamber door. And she never stopped a minute when she reached the open door, simply beat it, nothing more. As she left, my hope departed, and I stood there broken-hearted, gazing blankly at the darkened hall beyond the chamber door. She'll return again, I muttered, but the words were scarcely uttered when the raven croaked and sputtered his portentous nevermore. Just to knock me on my sorrow, he kept croaking nevermore from his perch on Theodore. Out my stupor then I started, for this taunt a sting imparted, that loosed my store of cuss words, and a stream I did outpour, screaming, demon, fiend, you craven of a babbling, prating raven! If from hell or from New Haven, get thee out my chamber door. Here I flung a pitcher at him, hit and shattered, Theodore. Flew the raven to the floor. Here he grew above the table, like the giant rock of fable. Then he grabbed me by the collar with a yank that hurt me sore. Next he clawed me, bit and poked me, stood me off again and soaked me, jerked me back again and choked me, till I sank upon the floor, till all consciousness departed, and I swooned upon the floor. 'Twas my finish, nothing more. I awoke. The sun was streaming through the casement. Was I dreaming? Was this silken couch I lay on an illusion, nothing more? Were these tapestries and drapings all around me mental fakings, merely visionary shapings that a subtle likeness bore? Yes, a strange familiar likeness to environments of yore. Was I smoking, nothing more? No, ye gods and little fishes, yon debris of bottles, dishes, those cigar and cigarette butts all the chamber scattered o'er, to quick consciousness restore me. Then I knew, and then I swore me, with the raven still before me, I'd drink soda evermore. And whene'er the tempter lures me, bids me hit it up once more, half is soda, maybe more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by DougHerty. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but, with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. Perched, and sat, and nothing more. Then the ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven. Ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if its soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, from whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er? She shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch!" I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he has sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, Prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this horror, by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend! I shrieked up starting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Reward by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, October 2025. Fate used me meanly, but I looked at her and laughed, that none might know how bitter was the cup I quaffed. Along came Joy, and paused beside me, where I sat, saying, I came to see what you were laughing at. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Southern Road by Helene Johnson. Read for LibriVox.org by James K. White, Chula Vista. Yolk-colored tongue, parched beneath a burning sky, a lazy little tune hummed up the crest of some soft-sloping hill. One streaming line of beauty, flowing by a forest, pregnant with tears. A hidden nest for beauty idly flung by God in one lonely, lingering hour before the Sabbath. A blue-fruited black gum, like a tall predella, bears a dangling figure, sacrificial dower to the wrath, swinging alone, a solemn, tortured shadow in the air. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tuskegee by Sarah Lee Brown Fleming. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Sacred spot on which thou art, O school of industry, thou art doing well thy part to aid humanity. On thy consecrated ground is carved a wondrous story. Out of chaos, Washington raised this place to glory. The world has made a beaten track unto thy very door. A fountain on the desert sands, thou art forevermore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Watch in the Night by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. 1. Watchman, what of the night? Storm and thunder and rain, lights that waver and wane, leaving the watchfires unlit. Only the bale fires are bright, and the flash of the lamps now and then from a palace where spoilers sit, trampling the children of men. 2. Prophet, what of the night? I stand by the verge of the sea, banished, uncomforted, free, hearing the noise of the waves and sudden flashes that smite some man's tyrannous head, thundering, heard among graves that hide the hosts of his dead. 3. Mourners, what of the night? All night through without sleep we weep, and we weep, and we weep. Who shall give us our sons? Beaks of raven and kite, mouths of wolf and of hound? Give us them back whom the guns shot for you dead on the ground. 4. Dead men, what of the night? Cannon and scaffold and sword, horror of gibbet and cord, mowed us as sheaves for the grave, mowed us down for the right. We do not grudge or repent. Freely to freedom we gave pledges till life should be spent. 5. Statesman, what of the night? Night will last me my time. The gold on a crown or a crime looks well enough yet by the lamps. Have we not fingers to write, lips to swear at a need? Then, when danger decamps, bury the word with the deed. 6. Warrior, what of the night? Whether it be not or be night is as one thing to me. I, for one, at the least, ask not of dews if they blight, ask not of flames if they slay, ask not of prince or of priest how long ere we put them away. 7. Master, what of the night? Child, night is not at all anywhere, fallen or to fall, save in our star-stricken eyes. Forth of our eyes it takes flight. Look we but once, nor before, nor behind us, but straight on the skies. Night is not then any more. 8. Exile, what of the night? The tides and the hours run out, the seasons of death and of doubt, the night watchers bitter and sore. In the quicksands leftward and right, my feet sink down under me, but I know the scents of the shore and the broad-blown breaths of the sea. 9. Captives, what of the night? It rains outside overhead always, a rain that is red, and our faces are soiled with the rain. Here in the season's despite, daytime and nighttime are one, till the curse of the kings and the chain break, and their toils be undone. 10. Christian, what of the night? I cannot tell, I am blind. I halt and hearken behind, if haply the hours will go back, and return to the dear dead light, to the watchfires and stars that of old shone where the sky now is black, glowed where the earth now is cold. 11. High priest, what of the night? The night is horrible here, with haggard faces and fear, blood and the burning of fire. Mine eyes are emptied of sight, mine hands are full of the dust. If the God of my faith be a liar, who is it that I shall trust? 12. Princes, what of the night? Night with pestilent breath feeds us, children of death, clothes us close with her gloom. Rapine and famine and fright crouch at our feet and are fed. Earth where we pass is a tomb. Life where we triumph is dead. 13. Martyrs, what of the night? Nay, is it night with you yet? We, for our part, We forget what night was, if it were. The loud red mouths of the fight are silent and shut where we are. In our eyes the tempestuous air shines as the face of a star. 14. England, what of the night? Night is for slumber and sleep, warm, no season to weep. Let me alone till the day. Sleep would I still, if I might, who have slept for 200 years. Once I had honor, they say, but slumber is sweeter than tears. 15. France, what of the night? Night is the prostitute's noon, kissed and drugged till she swoon, spat upon, trod upon, whored, with blood-red rose garlands dight, round me reels in the dance. Death, my saviour, my lord, crowned, there is no more France. 16. Italy, what of the night? Ah, child, child, it is long. Moonbeam and starbeam and song leave it dumb now and dark. Yet I perceive on the height eastward, not now very far, a sound too loud for the lark, a light too strong for a star. 17. Germany, what of the night? Long has it lulled me with dreams. Now at mid-watch, as it seems, light is brought back to mine eyes, and the mastery of old and the might lives in the joints of mine hands, steadies my limbs as they rise, strengthens my foot as it stands. 18. Europe, what of the night? Ask of heaven and the sea, and my babes on the bosom of me. Nations of mine, but ungrown, there is one who shall surely requite all that endure or that err. She can answer alone. Ask not of me, but of her. 19. Liberty, what of the night? I feel not the red rains fall, hear not the tempest at all, nor thunder in heaven any more. All the distance is white with the soundless feet of the sun. Night, with the woes that it wore, night is over and done. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Witch by Sarah Lee Brown Fleming. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Lo, the witch all shrivelled and old, come in and have your fortune told. She, by the aid of a magic wand, can see the future in your hand. What in your hand she cannot trace, she'll surely find it in your face. She'll tell you when you're going to wed, if the friend long gone is alive or dead. If you'll be poor or you'll have gold, come in and have your fortune told. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Happy Halloween.
Words by Charles Harper. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. Words are deeds. The words we hear may revolutionize or rear a mighty state. The words we read may be a spiritual deed excelling any fleshly one, as much as the celestial sun transcends a bonfire, made to throw a light on some raree show. A simple proverb tagged with rhyme may colour half the course of time. The pregnant saying of a sage may influence every coming age. A song in its effects may be more glorious than Thermopylae, and many a lay that schoolboys scan a nobler feat than Inkerman. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.